Chapter 1. The Call I Never Expected. I was sitting in my small office, half asleep over a stack of reports, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. First, I ignored it. I thought it was another spam call or maybe Jonas asking if I wanted to grab lunch. But the phone kept vibrating like something urgent was happening. I sighed and reached for it without even checking the screen. "Hello," I said. For a few seconds, there was only breathing, a shaky breath, a breath I somehow recognized deep in my bones, even though I wished I didn't. Then a soft voice said, "It's me." My whole body froze. Lena. Hearing her name in my mind made my chest tighten the same way it had years ago, the night everything fell apart. I closed my eyes and leaned back in my chair. "Why are you calling me?" I asked. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. I need to talk to you," she said. Her voice cracked. "Please, it's important." I almost laughed, but nothing about this felt funny. "There's nothing left to talk about." "I know," she whispered, "but I have to see you. Just once. I need to explain." Explain? What was left to explain after I walked in on her kissing my best friend in our apartment? After she told me, straight-faced, that she didn't owe me anything? After she threw away 3 years like they were trash? I felt a familiar burn in my chest, hurt mixed with something darker. "No," I said. "I don't want." She cut me off. "I'm outside." My heart stopped for a moment. "Outside where?" I asked. "Outside your workplace," she said. "I've been waiting." I shot up from my chair so fast it made a loud noise. That's when Mira stepped into my office. She was holding a paper cup of iced coffee and smiling the way she always smiled at me. Soft and easy. But her smile faded the moment she saw my face. "Everything okay?" she asked. I looked at her. My wife, my peace. And I felt sick that someone like Lena could still shake me like this. I covered the phone with my hand. "It's Lena." Myra's eyebrows lifted slightly, but she didn't look scared or jealous. She never did. She just looked at me with that steady calm she always carried. "What does she want?" "She says she's outside," I whispered. "Outside?" Mira repeated. "Right now." I nodded. "On the phone," Lena said. "Can I please see you? Just for a moment. I won't bother you again. I promise." I didn't know what to say. I looked to Mira without meaning to, and she stepped closer. "Do you want to go?" she asked. "No," I said instantly. "But I feel like if I don't hear her out, she'll..." "Keep calling," Mira finished for me. I nodded. She took a slow breath, then placed the coffee on my desk. "Go ahead," she said. "I'm not worried." Her words grounded me. Mira wasn't the type to panic or imagine the worst. She trusted me, and because she trusted me, I felt my spine straighten a little. I raised the phone to my ear again. "Fine. I'll come down." Lena let out a shaky breath that sounded like relief. "Thank you. I'm really sorry for everything. Please just hear me." I hung up before she could say more. I didn't trust myself to listen to her voice any longer. Mira squeezed my hand. "Want me to wait here?" "Yeah," I said. "I won't be long." "Take your time," she replied. "Just don't let her control the conversation." I almost smiled. Mira always noticed the things I tried to hide, even the fear. I walked out of the office building, feeling like every step was taking me deeper into some old nightmare. When I pushed open the glass doors, a cool breeze hit my face, and for a moment, I hoped maybe she had left. But no, she was there, leaning against her car with her arms wrapped around herself. When she saw me, her eyes widened like she'd been drowning, and I was the first breath of air. "Hi," she whispered. "Say what you need to say," I replied. I didn't move closer. She took a shaky step toward me. "You look different." "I'm not the same person," I said. "I know," she whispered. "And that's why I came." She looked terrible. Hair messy, eyes red, makeup smudged. Felt strange. Years ago, she always made sure she looked perfect. Now she just looked ruined. "Evan left me," she blurted out. I didn't respond. "He cheated on me," she continued, "with someone else. He used me." Her voice cracked, and she wiped her eyes. I thought he loved me. I thought he was better than you. That hit harder than I expected. Even after all this time, the words stung. She looked up at me with trembling lips. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Silence hung between us. Then she whispered, I want to talk. Really talk. Can we meet later? Please. I need you to hear everything. I swallowed hard. I could feel the weight of my past pulling on me. I'll think about it, I said. She nodded quickly, like a desperate child. Thank you. Just text me. As she walked back to her car, I felt a storm building inside me. Old wounds bleeding again. When I returned upstairs, Mira was waiting at my desk. She looked up and smiled gently. So? She asked. I exhaled. She wants to talk again. And you? She asked. I don't know. Mira stood, walked over, and brushed her thumb across my cheek. Well, she said softly, whatever happens, I'm here. And for the first time since the call, I could breathe again. Chapter 2. Her tears don't move me anymore. I didn't want to see Lena again, but the thought of her showing up at my office every day scared me more. So after work, I texted her one word, outside. She replied instantly, coming. I stayed by the side of the building where no one usually walked. I kept my hands in my pockets, trying to calm the storm inside my chest. I kept thinking about Mira, how calm she was, how she trusted me. I didn't want to break that trust. A few minutes later, Lena's old gray car pulled up. She stepped out slowly, like her legs were weak. When she saw me, she smiled through tears. You came, she said softly. I said I would, I replied. She walked toward me, arms slightly open like she wanted to hug me, but I stepped back. Her arms froze in the air, then dropped. Oh, she whispered. Right? Sorry. What do you want, Lena? I asked. She flinched at how sharp my voice sounded. I wanted to see you. I needed to. Why? She looked down at her hands. Because everything fell apart. And I had no one else. I raised an eyebrow. That's supposed to make me feel something? No, She stopped talking when her voice cracked. She took a breath. Evan left. He met someone else at work. He said I was too much drama. I didn't say anything. I wasn't sure what she wanted from me. Sympathy? Comfort? I didn't have any left for her. She took a shaky breath. I thought he loved me. I really did. I thought he cared more than you did. My jaw tightened. He didn't care, I said. He wanted what wasn't his. She closed her eyes, tears falling. I know that now. I'm so stupid. Silence stretched for a few seconds before she wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I lost my job too. What happened? I asked even though I wasn't sure why. My boss said my personal issues were affecting my work. And then I stopped trying. She let out a broken laugh. Guess I just kept losing. I didn't reply. She looked at me again, eyes filled with something desperate. Do you ever think about us? About what we were? No, I said simply. She swallowed hard. Not even once? No. Her face twisted like the words stabbed her. I think about it every day. I think about how you used to look at me, how you used to trust me, how you begged me to be honest. And you lied anyway, I said. Her lips trembled. I know, and I hate myself for it. I almost believed her, almost, but I remembered the night it happened. The cold look in her eyes, the way she pushed the blame onto me, saying I was too clingy, too emotional, too boring. Now she wanted to rewrite the past. Lena, what's your point? I said. Why are you here? She stepped closer but kept some distance when she saw me tense. I want to fix things. There's nothing to fix. For me, there is. Her voice shook. I need to say sorry. I need you to hear it. I need you to know I regret it. You said sorry before. I reminded her. You said it while you were still with him. I didn't mean it then, she whispered. I was scared. I thought if I said the right things, you wouldn't leave. I didn't leave, I said. You did. That shut her up. She looked away, Chapter 3. Myra's calm cuts deeper than anger. I barely slept that night. I kept waking up every hour, staring at the ceiling, thinking about tomorrow, thinking about Lena's voice shaking, thinking about Myra's calm eyes watching me. When morning finally came, I felt like I'd already lived an entire day. Myra noticed. She always noticed. "You look like your brain ran a marathon without you," she said while handing me a mug of coffee. I took it and sighed. "Feels like it did." She sat on the edge of the table, close enough for our knees to touch. "You want to talk about it?" "No," I said, "but I probably should." She tilted her head. "Then start with this. What scares you more? Seeing her again, or seeing yourself around her again?" Her question hit me so hard I forgot to breathe. "Myra dash," I whispered, rubbing my forehead. "I don't want to be that person again. The person who begged, and wondered, and cried every night. I hated him." She touched my hand lightly. "You're not that person anymore." "I know," I said, "but seeing her yesterday, it felt like the ground under me shifted a little." "You're human," she said simply. "Old pain can still shake you. It doesn't mean you want her back." I looked at her, really looked at her. Strong, steady, kind Myra. She wasn't afraid of Lena. She wasn't afraid of memories either. "Why aren't you angry?" I asked quietly. She shrugged. "Because anger helps her, not you. She wants chaos. She wants the version of you that falls apart around her. I'm not giving her that." I swallowed, throat tight. "I don't deserve you." She smirked. "I know." I laughed softly, and the tension in my chest loosened just a little. Later that morning, Jonas showed up at our apartment without warning. He knocked once and then let himself in like he still lived with me. "Bro," he said, stomping inside with messy hair and a hoodie. Myra texted me. "You good?" I groaned. "Why does she tell you everything?" "Because he's your brother," Myra called from the kitchen. "And he has the emotional maturity of a potato, which somehow helps." "Rude," Jonas yelled back, but he smiled as he said it. He plopped down on the couch beside me. "Okay, tell me what happened. And don't leave out the messy parts." I told him everything. Lena showing up, crying, begging, talking about Evan. Jonas' expression shifted from confused to annoyed to furious in seconds. "She wants you back? After everything?" he said. "Is she delusional?" "Probably," I muttered. "What did Myra say?" Jonas asked. "That I should let her talk." Jonas snorted. "Of course she said that. She's a saint. If it were me, I'd throw Lena into traffic." Myra leaned into the living room doorway. "Please don't throw anyone into traffic. We don't need more problems." Jonas pointed at her dramatically. "See? Sainthood." Myra rolled her eyes and disappeared back into the kitchen. A moment later, Ava arrived too, Myra's best friend. She came over the second Myra told her the situation. Ava was the opposite of calm. She had fire, sharp words, and no patience for anyone who messed with people she cared about. She stormed in with her long hair swinging. "Where is she? Is she coming here? Should I be here when she arrives?" "Because I'm ready." Myra sighed. "Ava, we talked about this." "No stabbing," Ava repeated with a groan. "I know, but I should be allowed to threaten a little, right?" "No," I said. She huffed and sat on the armchair. "Fine, but if she cries, I'm gonna roll my eyes so hard I might pass out." Jonas snorted. "I want front row seats for that." I looked between them and felt a strange mix of comfort and dread. This group, my real family, was here because they cared. But that only made me more aware of how messy today could get. "What time is she coming?" Ava asked. 11, I said. Ava checked her phone dramatically. "Great. Enough time to meditate and pray for patience." Jonas snorted. "You? Meditate?" Ava threw a pillow at him. At 10:50, the entire apartment went silent. Even Jonas stopped making jokes. Myra came to sit beside me, placing her hand on my thigh. "You okay?" she asked. "No," I said honestly. "That's okay," she replied. "You don't have to be." I leaned my head back, closing my eyes for a moment. I don't know what she wants from me. Yes, you do, Mira said. She wants the version of you she broke. But he's gone. And if she tries to pull him out again, then I'll remind you who you are now, Mira said simply. Something inside me steadied at her voice. Then the doorbell rang. The sound shot through the room like a gunshot. Ava grabbed the back of her chair like she was preparing to jump somebody. Showtime. Jonas stood up, cracking his neck. Want me to answer? No, Mira said. I will. She walked to the door, strong and calm, and pulled it open. Lena stood there, clutching her bag like she was holding onto the last piece of her life. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged. She looked past Mira and saw me sitting on the couch. Hi, she whispered. I nodded but didn't speak. Mira stepped aside. Come in. Lena hesitated like she expected someone to attack her. Honestly, with Ava there, maybe she wasn't wrong. But she stepped inside, eyes scanning the room nervously. Ava didn't blink. Jonas crossed his arms. Lena swallowed and looked directly at Lena. I want to talk, she whispered. Mira nodded and gestured toward the couch across from me. Then talk. Lena sat down slowly, trembling, and I felt the air shift, the past rising up, ready to clash with the life I'd built. I looked at Myra's hand still resting on my leg. Her calm didn't just help me. It grounded me, prepared me, protected me, and I realized something I hadn't before. Lena wasn't the storm anymore. Mira was the anchor, and I wasn't drowning this time. Chapter 4, the day the lie became real. I used to think lies were small, disposable things, like scraps of paper you could tear up and toss away without consequence. But the truth is, every lie you tell becomes a seed. And if you're unlucky, or careless, or simply human, that seed grows. It grows roots, grows leaves, grows teeth. My lie, the one that started it all, sprouted the moment I told him I couldn't speak. It sounds ridiculous when I admit it that plainly, like the setup to a bad joke. A girl pretends to be mute to avoid talking to the man she hates. But that was never the real reason. Hate would have been easy. Indifference even easier. What I felt toward him that day was sharper. It hummed beneath my skin, electric, volatile. It was a mixture of fear and fascination, and the kind of tension that only forms when two people are standing at the edge of something dangerous. So I lied. And astonishingly, he accepted it. That acceptance should have relieved me. Instead, it terrified me more. Because when someone believes your lie too easily, you start to wonder what they already assume about you. What they want to believe. What they might do with that belief. And he, Leon, had the kind of presence that made assumptions feel like chains. The day everything shifted began quietly. A morning like any other. My routine was predictable by then. Wake up, avoid eye contact, maintain the facade, and count the hours until I could collapse alone in my room. And yet, from the moment I opened my eyes, the air felt wrong. Thick, charged, like the silence before a storm. I met Leon in the kitchen. He was leaning against the counter with a mug of coffee, looking at me. Not suspiciously, not aggressively, but thoughtfully. Too thoughtfully. I froze. My heart drummed in my ribs as his gaze traced me, slow and deliberate, like he was cataloging every detail. Morning. The word punched straight through me. Simple. Casual. But I heard something beneath it, an undertone warmer than it had any right to be. I dipped my head in acknowledgement, keeping my hands still. Over the past weeks, I'd become disturbingly good at miming silence. Then he said something that made the hair rise along the back of my neck. You know, it's strange how quiet the house feels when you're around. The sentence landed wrong. Too heavy. Too pointed. My fingers tightened around the handle of the mug I was reaching for. He continued, almost to himself, it's not a bad quiet, just different. Different. A strange, shaky warmth fluttered in my chest, and I hated it. Whatever softness lived in that word wasn't meant for me. Wasn't allowed to be for me. I had built a wall, a lie, and he wasn't supposed to look over it like that. So I retreated. Most days he let me, but not today. When I turned to leave the kitchen, he said his Chapter 5, the first crack. I spent the rest of the morning hiding like a coward. Not because Leon had done anything wrong. Not because his questions were cruel or invasive. But because they were true. People think lies crumble because someone exposes them. But more often, they crack from the inside. The moment you start wanting something real, the lie weakens. And I had wanted something real in that kitchen. Just for a heartbeat. Just enough for the mask to slip. I stayed in my room until noon, curled up on the floor beside the bed because sitting upright made my pulse race. My mind replayed the same moment again and again. The way he had said my name, the mild crease at the corner of his brow, the relief flooding his expression when I told him wordlessly that I wasn't afraid of him. Why should he care? Why had that mattered to him? And why, in that instant, had I cared just as much? I shouldn't have. I knew better than to get close to anyone, especially someone like him. Someone observant. Someone patient. Someone who didn't let go once he noticed a thread out of place. The knock on my door nearly stopped my heart. 3 taps. Calm. Spaced evenly. Leon never knocked like someone seeking permission. Only like someone announcing his presence. I scrambled to my feet, brushing the dust from my clothes, straightening the sheets even though there was no reason to. Maybe he'd gone. Maybe the knock was just courtesy, and he'd walk away. But then his voice came through the wood, low and steady. Lena. My stomach twisted. I opened the door because not opening it would have made everything worse. And because part of me, some reckless, traitorous part, wanted to see his face. He stood there holding a plate. A sandwich. Fruit sliced neatly on the side. Like I was a child who'd forgotten to feed herself. He lifted the plate a little. You didn't come out for lunch. I swallowed hard and nodded in thanks, reaching for the food. But he didn't let go of the plate immediately. His fingers brushed mine barely, and a jolt shot through me. His eyes flicked down to our hands, then up to my face. Something unreadable passed through his expression. Only then did he release the plate. I wanted to check on you, he said quietly. You left earlier in a hurry. I lowered my gaze. Communicating silently meant I didn't owe him explanations. Another benefit of my lie. But the weight of his concern settled over me like a too warm blanket. Felt wrong. Too comfortable. Too dangerous. He waited, like he expected me to gesture or write something. When I didn't, he spoke again. I'm sorry if I scared you. My head snapped up. Scared? Of him? I shook my head immediately. Too fast. A flicker of amusement touched his lips. Quick, subtle, but unmistakable. So it wasn't that, he murmured. Good. He leaned one shoulder against the doorframe, arms crossing slowly. The movement was relaxed, but the look in his eyes wasn't. He was analyzing me again, peeling back layers I tried to bury. You know, he said softly, for someone who never speaks, you say a lot. Heat crawled up my neck. I stepped back instinctively, gripping the plate tighter. Leon noticed. He lifted both hands in a small gesture of surrender. I'm not pushing, just trying to understand you. Understand me. No one had ever said that before. No one had ever wanted to. And somehow that made me panic more than if he had threatened me. I shook my head, slow, deliberate. Not don't ask. Not don't care. More like, don't look too closely. Don't strip me bare. He watched me for a long moment. Then his voice dropped, quiet enough that it felt like a confession. You're hiding something. I know that much. My breath hitched. But whatever it is, his eyes softened. And the change was so sudden, so disarming, I froze. You don't have to be alone with it. My pulse pounded in my ears. No, this was too much. He wasn't supposed to get close to me. He wasn't supposed to offer comfort. He wasn't supposed to make the walls around my lie tremble. I stepped back again, farther this time, and lowered my gaze, signaling without words that the conversation was over. Leon exhaled quietly, not frustrated, not angry, just resigned. All right, he said. I hear you. He started to turn away, then paused. We'll talk later. Those words again. And again, they struck me with an inexplicable force. When he walked down the hall and disappeared from view, I closed the door softly and slid down its surface until I hit the floor. The sandwich plate trembled in my hands, not because of fear, but because something inside me was unraveling, thread by careful thread. The first crack in my lie had formed, and Leon was the one who made it. Chapter 6. The last day she'll ever have. The next morning, I woke up with a tight knot in my chest. My phone buzzed, and for a split second, I hoped it wasn't her. But it was. Lena. One text. Can we meet? Please. Just one last day. I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the screen. Mira had been quietly sipping her coffee at the table. She looked up. What is it? She asked. She wants one last day with me, I muttered. My voice was flat, though my stomach churned. Mira set her cup down slowly. Do you want to? I don't know, I admitted. She reached across the table, taking my hand. Then don't let it be about her. Let it be about what you want, and what you're willing to tolerate. Her words steadied me. For the first time, I felt I could face the storm without being swallowed by it. I met Lena at a small park, the same one where we used to spend afternoons laughing at nothing. Felt surreal walking past the swings, the sandbox, the fountain. Everything was quiet, almost too quiet. She was sitting on a bench when I arrived, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen from crying. She looked smaller than I remembered, smaller than she used to act around me, full of confidence. Hey, she said softly. I nodded. Hey, she swallowed hard, trying to speak. I don't know where to start. I need you to hear everything. I've been a fool and I know it. I let her talk. For once, I didn't interrupt. I didn't need to. Her words spilled out. Evan, the betrayal, her lies, her fear. Every excuse she ever made, every justification, came tumbling out like leaves from a tree in a storm. You were always too good for me, she whispered at one point. I just didn't see it then. I felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, not even a flicker of longing. Just emptiness. You ruined us, I said finally, my voice low. Not just me. You ruined what we could have been. And you're asking for a second chance. She nodded, her face crumpling. I didn't know. I didn't understand until it was too late. I looked away, pretending not to notice her tears. Pretending not to remember the nights I spent sobbing alone. Pretending not to recall the way she laughed in my face the night I found out. I can't fix it for you, I said. I can't be the person who forgives everything and forgets. Her shoulders slumped. I know. I just wanted you to know. That's all. I stayed silent. The silence was louder than any apology. She tried again, voice trembling. Do you hate me? I laughed softly, but it wasn't joyful. It was the kind of laugh that comes when you've survived pain and realize the person who caused it doesn't matter anymore. No, I said. I don't hate you. I don't feel anything for you. You're just someone who used to exist in my life. That's it. Her face paled. She opened her mouth, but no words came. You wanted closure, I said. Here it is. I'm telling you that you can't have me. I'm not the person you left behind. I'm not the one you broke. And I'm never going back. She sank back into the bench, staring at the fountain, trembling. I thought if I told you everything, it would make a difference. I'm not your story anymore, I said quietly. I'm my own. A long pause followed. The kind of silence that only comes when someone realizes the consequences of their actions. Finally, she whispered, I wish I could take it all back. You can't, I said. And you won't. That's the point. Her head fell into her hands. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She just sat there, broken, the wind playing with her hair, and I realized something. This was her reckoning. Not mine. Not Myra's. Hers. I took a step back and finally allowed myself to breathe. I had survived the storm. I had survived her. Later that evening, I returned home. Mira was waiting at the door, calm and composed, like nothing had happened. I closed my eyes for a second and let the tension leave my body. Is she gone? She asked. I nodded. She is. Chapter 7. Karma knocks harder than I do. The days after Lena's last visit were quiet. Too quiet. I kept expecting another call, another text, another desperate plea. But nothing came. It was as if she had finally realized that I wasn't hers to manipulate anymore. Mira noticed it too. She didn't need to ask. I could feel her watching me, steady and calm, like she always did. You're not tempted? She asked one evening, while we were cooking dinner together. I shook my head. No, I feel empty, but in a good way, like a weight has been lifted. She smiled, brushing her fingers against mine as she passed me a pan. Good, because she's not coming back. Not ever. And then, just when I was starting to feel the freedom settle in, the universe, or maybe fate, decided to intervene. My phone buzzed. A name I hadn't expected, Jonas. Evan, I answered. Bro, he said, and his voice was unsteady. It's Lena. Something happened. I froze. My chest tightened. What do you mean something happened? She's losing everything. Work, friends, even her apartment. It's like everything that was built on lies is collapsing. A strange feeling crept through me. Satisfaction? Relief? Something darker that I didn't want to admit. What did she do? I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. Jonas hesitated. She tried to cheat her way back into Evan's life. And he's not having it. She's getting exposed everywhere. People are talking. Karma, man. Karma's hitting her hard. I exhaled slowly. The word karma echoed in my mind. I had always believed in cause and effect, in the natural justice of life. But seeing it play out so clearly, it was almost too satisfying. Almost. Mira came into the room, her brow slightly furrowed. What's happening? Lena, I said, my voice low. Jonas says her world is falling apart. Her eyes softened, but there was no joy in them. She wasn't celebrating misery. Mira never celebrated misery. She was just steady, observing. Good, she said softly. She got what she earned. But you don't let it get to your head. Karma isn't a weapon. It's a mirror. I nodded. I knew she was right. I didn't want to gloat. I didn't want to feed that part of me that still remembered pain. Still, it was hard not to feel a small, quiet victory. A week later, I saw her. Not in person. Not in my life. But in the news. There she was, standing in front of a crowd, crying, humiliated. Her reputation shredded because of the lies she had told. Her boyfriend had publicly called her out. Her colleagues had joined in. And worst of all, she had no one to protect her. I felt no relief. No gloating, really. Just closure. Mira leaned against me quietly as we watched the clip. See? She whispered. The world doesn't need your fists to punish someone. Sometimes it does it all by itself. I rested my head on her shoulder. It's weird, watching her get what she deserves without me even touching her. She kissed my temple. That's the point. You didn't do it. You didn't need to. You're free from her, not chained by her. I closed my eyes and let the calm wash over me. For the first time in years, I felt like myself. That night, I dreamt of her, Lena, crying, reaching out, begging for forgiveness I would never give. But in my dream, I wasn't scared. I wasn't weak. I just walked past her. And then I woke up. The morning sunlight poured through the curtains, warm and unassuming. Mira was already awake, reading at the table. She looked up as I stretched. You look different, she said. Do I? I asked. Yes, she said simply. Freer, lighter. Not because she's gone, but because you survived her. I nodded. Somehow, that felt like the truest thing anyone had said to me. The next few weeks passed slowly, but steadily. Lena's name disappeared from messages, calls, and conversations. Her world was collapsing outside mine, and inside mine I was rebuilding. I spent evenings with Mira, laughing quietly, sharing meals, and planning things for the future. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. It was real. And real was something I hadn't felt in years. Then one evening, Jonas called again. Bro, he said, voice full of incredulity. She's trying one last thing. She called your office. I laughed quietly. She's persistent. No, Jonas said. She's desperate. You need to see this. She left a voicemail. I listened to it. Her voice trembled. She begged. She pleaded. She tried to make excuses. She tried to twist reality, just like she always did. But I didn't feel anything. Myra's hand was in mine. Let it go, she whispered. And I did. Because karma didn't need my hands. Because I had finally realized I didn't need her anymore. Because for the first time in years, I was truly free. Chapter 8. Mira and Me. The life we built. The morning sun spilled across our apartment like a warm promise. I was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee, Mira beside me, her fingers wrapped around mine. The silence wasn't heavy or tense. It was soft, comfortable, the kind of quiet that says everything doesn't need to be said aloud. You know, I said, swirling the coffee in my cup. I didn't realize how much peace could feel like this. Simple, steady, warm. Mira looked at me, her eyes calm and sure. That's life without chaos, she said. Without her. Without the past gripping you every day. This is what you deserved all along. I smiled softly. Yeah, but I think I needed to feel the chaos first to appreciate it. She laughed. A light, airy sound that filled the room. You're impossible. Maybe, I said. But I'm also free. We spent the morning in our usual routine. Breakfast together, dishes clinking, soft jokes about Jonas and Ava's antics. The kind of small moments that never feel small when you finally notice them. I realized that happiness doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it sneaks in quietly, in shared smiles and coffee steam. Later, Mira and I walked through the city. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves. The streets buzzed with ordinary life. Children laughing, vendors calling out their wares, couples holding hands without thought. I watched them, thinking of the life I had almost lost. How close I had been to letting Lena drag me back into a storm I no longer belonged in. Do you ever think about her? Mira asked quietly, as we paused near a fountain. I shook my head. Not really. Only sometimes when I remember how fragile I used to be, and how I let her think she could control me. But that's not me anymore. She squeezed my hand. And that's exactly why you survived. Because you became stronger, not bitter. I looked at her, the person who had been my anchor, my safe place, my truth. I don't think I could have done it without you. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. You could have. But I'm glad I was here anyway. We walked in silence for a while. It was the kind of silence I had once feared, the kind that used to feel heavy with things unsaid. Now it was full of comfort, full of understanding, full of possibility. Later that evening, we were home again. Jonas had stopped by earlier, leaving us in peace, and Ava had gone on some mission of her own. The apartment felt alive with calm energy, and I realized how much I had missed ordinary life. Not the drama, not the chaos, not the heartbreak, but just life itself. I think I can finally let go completely, I said to Mira as we settled on the couch, her head resting on my shoulder. Of course you can, she said. You've earned it. You've survived the storm, faced the lies, and walked away stronger than anyone expected. I exhaled, a slow, steady breath that carried years of tension with it. I used to think revenge mattered, or maybe justice, but now it's nothing. She got her karma, the universe did its work, and I looked at Mira. I get to live. Her hand found mine again, lacing our fingers together. And that's the best kind of victory. I smiled, letting the weight of the past settle finally. Lena was gone from my life. Evan, her lies, her manipulations, all of it was over. And for the first time, I felt like I could breathe fully. We talked about small things that night, what to cook for dinner, a new book Mira wanted to read, plans for the weekend. Ordinary, simple, perfect. And I realized something important. Happiness didn't need to be dramatic or fiery. Could be soft, gentle, consistent. Could be sitting here holding the person who loved you, feeling safe. I want to thank you again, I said softly, for everything. For standing by me, For not letting her hurt me again. For Dash, I hesitated. For helping